I found that today a lot of people have a hard time answering the hard questions. I've also found that truth is a confusing topic nowadays. Not only that, we're left with what God do we believe in? Is this God real? Is Allah real? Should we worship Buddha? There's so many questions out there. Here at NX Ministries, we are dedicated to teaching you the hard truths. We're dedicated to bringing you actual facts. You've come to the right place. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this series. So as we start to think about apologetics, it's important for us to remember what apologetics truly is. So let's give a basic definition for it. Really, apologetics is just a tool. It's a tool that we use and we take logic and we take reason and philosophy and we combine these things to find absolute truth about whether or not God exists. And apologetics is what we use to prove that God does in fact exist, that He's undeniably true, that everything He does or has said that He has done is proven through nature, through different scientific methods of finding things, and through using objective truth and philosophy. We can prove God's existence. We should never approach apologetics in an abrasive manner. It's not our goal to argue with people and just convince them that we're right. It's one thing to be right. It's another thing to lead someone in a direction. Apologists are put on this planet. God actually calls all of us as Christians to be apologists. Paul makes that perfectly clear. But the truth of the fact is that we're put on this planet to lead people to Christ. And if what we're doing on a stage, in a debate, in a classroom, at work, wherever you're at, when you're using these different principles, has to point people to Christ. That is the number one priority, and not just convince them that you're right. It's two very different things. Now, when we're talking about right and wrong, what we really start to talk about is good and evil, and then that leads us to morality and things like that. And we'll get into morality in the future. We'll get into cosmological beginnings. We'll get into the way that everything is beautifully and wonderfully put together and it appears to be done by a creator. We're going to look at a lot of different things in this series. But first we need to look at truth, and that's where this all begins. There's in our world today believed to be two different types of truth. One is subjective and one is objective. In Western society, a lot of people today tend to think that all truth is subjective, that we can just believe what we want to believe. And this all really started back with Noah Kant. And he was a philosopher a couple hundred years ago, and he really impacted Western society in a major way. Basically what he said is you can't know the real truth. And what he meant by that was that you could only use sensory experience to process what goes on in our cosmos, in and around us in the physical realm, and then our brain processes it, and we can only know what's in our brain. We can't know the real world. So leave it to a philosopher to come up with something like that. But that idea has led us to this other idea of truth being subjective. But truth, in and of itself, is primarily exclusive. You can't be subjective and exclusive at the same time. To be exclusive means that you exclude all other things. And so if we're going to look at real truth, we need to look to a standard that's beyond us, that we can measure truth by, or any standard that we're trying to measure things by, to find out if it measures up to that standard and is true. As Christians, we believe that standard is God. And we're going to get into this in a lot of depth. This is just 101, introducing you to apologetics. I hope this has been educational for you. Don't forget, like, subscribe. We're going to be putting out videos like this every single week. If this is useful for you, share it with a friend. Peace, and don't spread crap, spread the gospel.